Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be doing a kind of atypical character review. I never did one for Hela. The real life kind of sucked me in, and then obviously we've got some reworks to a couple Asgardians, so you know what I thought is I should just do one that's Hela, Thor, and Loki. So I'm going to do one of my traditional character reviews where I kind of look at the abilities a little bit. Obviously for Thor and Loki, I'll go through those really quick because they've already been in the game forever. I'll kind of talk about their adjustments and their updates. Then we look at their stats and then the T4s. So that's what this video is going to be about. Specifically these three Asgardians. I'll have an individual video for Heimdall and Sif. I already did a preliminary one for them a few weeks back. This video we're going to talk about these three specific Asgardians and see kind of how they rank up compared to a lot of the other characters in game, and see if it's something that you really should invest in. Yes, I think we all know that by now. They're really a good team, so let's not see they are. But let's see some of the stats behind maybe why they're so good and potentially some T4s that you definitely want to throw on these guys.
Bring me WolverThor!
Okay, so you can get a quick view of my Asgardians here. This isn't on a roster review per se, but you get a little taste of where I'm at with them. So the first one we'll look at here is Loki. His abilities are pretty basic. His basic attack just pierces and gives him a chance to evade. 40% chance without those T4s. Mind control. This is a special. You use this first turn. Starts with 4 full energy. Basically, you pick a target, throw defense down on them, and then you hope that 2 targets hit it. If you do T4s into it, you can guarantee that. But one of the nice adjustments to this in the latest update was on war defense. With 4 or more Asgardian allies, you also apply a taunt to that target. So whoever you're picking, you throw it, and it basically guarantees Hela's ultimate's going to go to it, which is kind of nice. So his ultimate, I love this. It's stealth the entire team, basically. The upgrade gives it, the T4 upgrade gives it an additional turn. His passive, on spawn, you gain 15% speed bar. Mystic controller allies gain more speed bar. You're not doing that anymore, so that part's kind of pointless. You reduce some resistance to all his enemies. You gain focus. Mystic controller allies gain focus. They gain resistance. He gains resistance. And then you got the standard Asgardian heal buff. So the one nice thing that was an adjustment here with the update was when an Asgardian ally drops below 50% max health, you apply stealth to that ally. So that's super solid. We're skipping Hela for now. We'll jump to Thor first. His basic attack, you're doing damage. Cool. His special, you're doing damage, and it potentially chains. Okay, this is the first ability you're going to use. Short energy cooldown there, just 3. But and then his ultimate, you start with 3 out of 6. Which is like, gosh, that stinks. You know, is that really going to help? We'll get to that in a second. But you attack all enemies for damage, and you apply stun to apply the primary target, and notice I said apply stun. Okay, it's not chance. So you're applying to stun to primary, and a percent chance, in this case 40%, to apply stun to all additional targets. Now, I talked about energy, his passive. You've got damage. Gain 10% damage for each Asgardian ally. In theory, you should have 4 more, so that's an additional 40%. So he's got a 50% damage increase. On turn, you've got the Asgardian heal for 5% max health, plus 5% of all the non-minion Asgardian allies. Now, this was the part that got added, which most of us, if not all of us, know at this part, is when an enemy attacks an Asgardian ally, you're changing his speed bar, so he's going quicker, plus you gain a charge up to a maximum of 5. On maximum charge, so when an Asgardians get hit 5 times, you give an ability energy for yourself, and then you attack all enemies for 240% damage. So in theory, once the other team goes 1 full turn, he gets 1 energy. So he should be able to do his ultimate on his 3rd turn. If there's more hits, theory it could be on his second turn, but that would be that'd be a lot of hits on your Asgardian friends there. So that's how that charge works. That's where you're potentially going to get the that ultimate a little bit earlier, but his abilities are decent. He's mainly a damage dealer with some chance to stun, but he's kind of wreaking havoc at the moment. So I would definitely look at making sure your Thor is strong. Mine is obviously just kind of okay. So Hela. All right, so Hela here. I'm a big fan of Hela. She's a great character. I think that if you haven't already, or if you're not already aware, you're going to see her potentially creep into the arena. I don't know if I want to say meta, but I think it's going to be meta. I haven't played with it too much, and I haven't, kind of played with the counter of it too much, but you're going to see, and I'll just say, like, Vision and Hela on a lot of teams where Vision goes and then she alts and there's an ability block on everybody. So think and talk about that, play with it a little bit. I'll be curious to see if you guys are already experiencing that. In the comments below, talk to me about it if you're seeing it, if you think it's a good idea, or how you're potentially countering. Again, Vision, and in theory he's going to be ability blocking Phoenix, which means Hela has to attack Phoenix and then spreads the ability block to everybody. Pretty dope. So kind of a little counter there, we'll see. So anyway, her basic attack primary target for damage, flip of death proof on target if it's there. That's super situational. To me, it's kind of like, all right. Attack the most injured enemy for 90% piercing, ignoring taunt. That's kind of nice. Question is when do you use her basic? It's her third turn. So this is once we get to T4s, it's kind of like, all right, third turn basic. We'll see. Her special, attack primary target, and this comes fully charged at 3. Attack primary target for 290% damage. Apply disrupted. Gain an assist from Undead Asgardian, which is Greg. So you're doing some good damage there and you're applying disrupted. You get a little assist from Greg. Her ultimate comes fully charged. It's a 5 ability energy use. Clear 3 death proof from all enemies, which in my opinion is kind of useless unless you get it for a second turn. It's, because this is going to be the first ability you use, and unless you're going against a Iron Man War Machine type situation who've got automatic death proofs, it's like so anyway, you're clearing death proofs from all enemies. You've got extra focus for this action, which is, so I mean, you're guaranteed clearing it. Attack all enemies for 350% damage, which is nice, and then spread. In this case with T4s, it's 4 negative effects from the primary target to all secondary targets. It won't spread stun. So it's a really nice ultimate. You're basically doing a bunch of damage, you're spreading a bunch of negative effects if they're applied, and you're clearing death proof. Her passive on spawn, summon Greg. On Greg's death, summon Greg. So she's summoning Greg a whole bunch. And then she's got that Asgardian heal, which is awesome. And then it's gain 15% max health. Gain more health per non-summoned Asgardian ally. On war defense, on non-summoned Asgardian allies' death, summon Greg. So whenever Thor, Loki, Heimdall, or Sif die, you're summoning Greg. Gain 25% damage on war defense. Asgardian allies gain 25% damage. So she's got some nice war boost. So that's their abilities. The combination of the group together, obviously Loki special on somebody, and then Hela's alt. As you guys probably are already aware, it's a nice combination to get some defense down and then spread it throughout the team there. So now let's look at their specific stats. Okay, so their stats, for those who don't know, I've got a giant stat sheet. I take all the stats from msf.gg based on a character level 70, 7 yellow stars, 0 red stars, T11, 1% Stark, and passive level 4. Reason I do that is because I feel like it's semi-reasonable or semi-reasonably attainable. It's not a 75 T14 or anything like that, because let's be real, those stats are, pretty much unattainable for 97% of the community. At least for every single tune. You might have some limited tunes, but not every single tune. So anyway, so this, I put all those stats in and then I rank each column of those stats and get an average rank. So let's zoom in a bit here. And let's start at the bottom. So the first character of these three that comes up is Thor. And he's way down at 113. For the God of Thunder, this is a disgrace in my opinion. He should never be this low. I'm just like, it's Thor. He's one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe, but whatever, it is what it is. So his health rank comes in at 47. It's not very good. It's like, okay, it's not terrible, but not good. Damage comes in at 25. That's not bad. I would think that it'd be higher for Thor, but it's not bad. So it's pretty decent. Now armor comes in at 41. Okay, again, okay. It's not great. I don't know if I think that'd be higher or not. One I'll get to here, I do believe. Focus, 109, I'm good with that. Thor's focus shouldn't be high. I mean, you'd like it to be for the stun, but just thinking about the lore and the character, focus, it's like Thor, not so much. He's more just like the brute force. Now, resistance, 121. I thought that was really low. I was pretty disappointed with that. I would think he'd have a ton of resist. He doesn't. So, yeah, just what it is. He's also really slow. They did bump the speed up some, but he's still with 90 speed and ranked 101. Now, a lot of times when I do these, I talk about, well, you know, is there one of these rankings, if you would bring those up a bit and they're maybe not as important, would it help? You know, everyone's resistant helps, and focus obviously helps, but he's only got it for that one ability. His damage is really the key there. I played with this earlier where I changed his focus and his resistance rank to 50, and it did jump him all the way up, you know, probably top half. So the focus and the resistance part where you might not care, it's like, okay. So he's a little bit better than advertised here as far as stats go. I know he's, you know, really close to the bottom, but he's solid as far as you know, the rest of the stats, you know, the stats that matter go. So let's scroll up. Next one up here is Loki. So Loki comes in at actually a really nice ranking at 18, which is kind of hilarious when you think about it. It's like, okay, so Loki's 18 and Thor's 100, almost 100 ranks later. Let's see why. Loki comes in with a health rank to 70. Okay, that's fine. Damage rank 66. He's got some piercing, but that's okay. He doesn't do a lot of damage, and you know, to me, Loki shouldn't. He's a controller. You know, he's not really there to do other thing than cause mischief. You know, so I'm good with that. Armor 7 or not, comes in at rank 90th with 23-25. That's fine. It's whatever. His focus, being third in the game at 2273. I mean, you need that for his special, but I'm a bit surprised that somebody who basically has one ability that you're throwing a debuff on, you know, it's kind of like you need that. I mean, I guess they apply taunt too, maybe at this point, but anyway, so that focus being super high obviously brings him way up. His resistance is higher than Thor's. I was kind of like, okay, I guess. It comes in at 19th, and then his speed is pretty good, and it comes in at 23rd. So he comes in at an average rank here of, you know, 45. I didn't say what Thor's was. Let me just jump back to that for a second. You know, Thor's comes in at average rank of 74, that's why he's so bad and down there, versus, you know, 45 from Loki. So, and last but not least, we've got Hela coming in at the 6th best ranked stat-wise tune in the game. So again, based on pure stats, Hela is the 6th best character in the game. So let's see what gets her that rank. The first one is health. She comes in at 59. Again, I'm like, okay, that's pretty solid. Better than Loki. Was that better than Thor? No, not better than Thor, which I think is important. Damage rank 4th. So she is the goddess of death, so I suppose she should be doing a ton of damage. I have to admit I was a bit surprised at seeing how high her damage was, but she hits hard. So those abilities that we're going to get to in the T4, that's going to, you know, dictate a little bit on whether we think we should upgrade those or not. Armor 41, focus 41. Her focus, I mean, for somebody who's spreading all these debuffs, I would think that you'd want a higher focus. I'm a little frustrated with that one there, given Loki's at 3 and she's at 41. I kind of wish they were switched, but is what it is. Her resistance is a 22, which again is really good. Just a little bit worse than Loki's and way better than Thor's. Again, okay, I guess. She is the goddess of death. And then her speed comes in at 43. So again, Loki goes first, then she goes. Her overall ranking, or her overall average rank, 35th. So she's a great toon. So Hela and Loki, both great. Thor, not so much, but he does have the high damage, which you really like. So let's go check out the T4s. All right, so the T4. So I'm going to go Thor, Loki, Hela on these. And for those, again, who haven't seen it, I've ranked every T4 ability in the game. I give it a general classification of great, good, okay, meh, crap, and total crap. And then for those that have for the T4 abilities that have damage, I've taken the base damage and increased it by 1% that's in the game. And so I rank all of those so that I can actually check them out and see, comparatively speaking, how good or bad they are. So the first one we've got up here is Thor's passive. Thor's passive, it was just plus 5% damage. I originally had this ranked as total crap. New, obviously, he's now the increase is a plus additional 20% damage for that charge. So, and what I mean by that is when he's getting those charges when Asgardians are getting hit, and eventually hits all the other enemies for a certain percentage damage, this T4 gives you an additional 20% to that AoE to the other team. So I've got this ranked as just okay. The damage increase comes in ranked at 238. For me, I don't know. I think it's just okay. And that 238 is based on the 5% damage increase. If you're looking at the 20% damage increase, we can look at this real quick off to the side. It's a little bit better, but not much. So if we're talking about actually it is much better, but 14. So if it's a 1400 damage increase.
I threw up.
You threw up? Oh, sweetie. What happened? Okay, sorry about that. My sweet little daughter ended up throwing up, and I had to take care of her. So hopefully she's doing better. I put her back to bed, and hopefully give her a little kiss, and hoping that stomach settles down. So anyway, I'm sure you guys aren't interested in that. So Thor passive. So I was talking about 5% versus 20%. Basically, if it's the 20%, it ranks it, on around the 100-ish mark or so. It's not that much better. So the passive I've still just got listed as okay. Nothing I'm gonna scream and get all excited about. His basic, an additional 40% damage, comes in ranked around 100 as well. And actually that would have been 100. I think it was 180 now that I think about it. So I've got it as good, mainly just because it's the ranking of the damage, where I've had some other ones. I wouldn't do it, but that's where it comes in at. So nothing really to talk about there. His special, now this is an additional 50% damage to primary. The updated one is an additional 40% damage to primary and chained to 3 targets, which is up from 2 to 3 for an additional 30% damage. So the old one was just 50% damage. Now it's 40% damage, but it changed to 3 targets instead of just 2 to 3. And that damage increase is an additional 30%. So that one, the 40% increase ranks 70th in the game, which isn't bad. I've got it as ranked good here. This is the first ability, so if you got a bunch of T4s, maybe you're throwing it at that. I'm personally not doing any Thor abilities. Even this next one here is ultimate. Additional 50% damage, and that's to everybody. And then plus a 10% chance to apply stun. So you've got 50% chance stun to apply the other tunes. That's really, I think if it was much higher, it might be a little too OP. So I get maybe where they left it at 50%. For me, when I'm ranking things, I don't like RNG. So would I upgrade this? I'd consider it. I definitely would, because a 50% chance to stun. But the question is also, when do you get it off? It's a 71 ranked damage in the game, so it's it's up there. You know, I've got this as good and, you know, in the 40-30 range. So it's towards the upper end of the good ones. So let's look at Loki. All right, Loki's first one I've got in here. Let me drop it down a bit here. Is his passive an additional negative 10% to the enemy's resistance? Meh. Okay, cool. You know, it's nice, don't get me wrong, but next up I've got his basic. It's an additional 30% piercing plus an additional 10% chance to gain evade. So I've listed this as okay. To me, still piercing is just kind of like, all right, whatever. It's nice when you've got high damage, and then the chance to evade. Okay, so 50% chance to evade, great. I'm not spending T4s on that. His special. So his special is basically guarantees the 2 enemies to mind control, up from 75%. I've got this listed as good. If I had extra T4s and a bunch of gold that I didn't need in other places, I probably would do this. I think it's good. It's a nice potential guaranteed one shot depending who you're doing it to. But at the same time, if you think about it, you kind of don't want him to one shot this person because you want the defense up and then you want Hela to spread. So I might have just convinced myself out of T4ing this because you don't want to get a one shot. You want the defense down and then you want Hela to spread it around. So I think I'm actually going to leave this. As much as it's a good upgrade, I think I'm going to leave it alone. His ultimate. I might argue that this could be considered a great upgrade. What it is apply stealth to self and all allies for 2 turns instead of 1. And then you get some additional mirror damage. To me, the mirror damage is whatever. I don't care about the mirror damage. It's that additional turn of stealth. I think that's pretty huge. I've done this upgrade. I've still classified it as just good because I didn't want to selfishly think, wow, this is great for, you know, it's 2 turns of stealth with this guy. I think especially once you get Sif in there taunting, this could be really problematic. So I've T4'd this. I would recommend T4'ing this. I do not regret doing this one so far. And it's in the good category, arguably great. So next up, I think let's do Hela. All right, so the first Hela one I got coming up here is her passive. I've already done this. I've ranked it as good. What it is an additional 5% max HP for herself, an additional 5% max HP for herself per non-summoned Asgardian ally. So instead of 10%, it's 15%, and you multiply that essentially by 4. So that's a ton of extra HP there. So it's good. On war defense, an additional 5% damage for self and Asgardian allies. So it's an additional 25% total damage for herself and Asgardian allies. So I really like this. I think it's good. I did it pretty much immediately. The damage increase, it's small, but it's ranks 234. It's for herself and Asgardian allies. I think just as you increase all of their damage, it can be pretty disgusting where these guys are just wiping people out. And the self-healing makes them a sustained team too. So, you know, it's like a mini Captain Marvel as a team. It can be difficult. Next up is Hela's special. What Hela's special? It's an additional 60% damage to primary target plus applied disrupted for an additional turn, so for 2 total turns. I listed this as great. The reason being is the damage combined with the disrupted. So the damage ranking comes in at 18th best in the game, which is really obviously good. And then the disrupted for 2 turns. I love that. I think it can be really problematic depending who you get that on. But the damage is so good with it, I had to drop it in the great category. Right above it is the basic. I put a basic in great. I normally don't like to do this, especially since she's not using it to her 3rd turn, but she'll use it for her 3rd, 4th, and I think 5th turn if the match lasts that long. So it's not a bad upgrade, especially if you've gone really hard, if you got high red stars on Hela. What it is an additional 60% damage to primary target and attack the most injured target most injured enemy for an additional 10% piercing. So the piercing to me again is a little bit of a throwaway, but the basic at the 60% increase, again, it's the same damage increase. So I've got it ranked as, you know, it's tied technically for 18th, but you know, 17th, 18th in the game. So these two are both really solid. So rounding out her Her T4 upgrades is her ult. Her ultimate is an additional 50% damage, but remember, that's to all enemies. So that 50% damage to everywhere. It's spreading an additional 2 negative effects. So instead of it spreading 2 negative effects, it spreads 4. Now, I will say that it's pretty unlikely that you're gonna have much more than 2 negative effects depending where you're using her. You know, whether it's the vision thing I talked about earlier, or if it's the Loki thing, you know, she's probably gonna have 2. So really, you're doing this increase for the damage more than anything, in my opinion. It might have some situationals in raids where you really want to spread all 4 of those negative effects, and that would be awesome. You know, you think about using her in a raid with Vision or in a raid with Scientist Supreme, and you're really spreading things all over the place. That's gonna get really nasty. The damage increase comes in at 41. I've got this ranked as a great, and I've got it as, you know, a 16th ranked in the game. I've already done this one as well. I don't regret it. I think it's a great upgrade. So, but again, it's mainly for damage. So that's all of these guys' T4s. So I'm gonna do a little outro as I kind of play some music in the background and just tell you my overall thoughts. Okay, so that is our 3 Asgardians that were either updated or that I didn't do a character review on. Again, I'll do a character review, a non-preliminary character review on Heimdall and Sif soon, but I wanted to do these 3 and I figured I'd just do them as a package. So Thor, great upgrades. The stats are a little underwhelming. Loki, you know, his stats are actually much higher than you'd think. His T4 upgrades are good. I'm not putting any T4 upgrades into Thor at the moment. If you've got extra and you got tons of gold, okay. I don't. I think at some point you saw I probably had 100k gold right now, and Sif's coming, and Black Bolt's coming, Yo-Yo's coming. You know, I'm like, I don't have gold for any of these people, let alone T4 abilities and leveling to 74 and 75, and all you're buying mini uniques from the store. It's just, I don't have it. So, you know, so Thor gets left by the wayside, but Loki, I got his ult. Hela, because her damage is so high. I did like the passive. I did like the ultimate. She's a great tune. Again, I could see her playing into the arena meta if you have experienced it already, especially with Vision. And then as a team, I think these guys are just great. It's already known. I'm not telling you anything you guys aren't aware of, but I did want to share the stats and the T4s so that it could actually give you guys an idea of what those specific things are. I try to bring that type of thing to the table, to the content creator universe. Anyway, so I hope this helps. As always, share with your alliance mates. Hammer down on that like button, notification bells, comments, do all the good things. And I hope this video helped. And until next time, I hope you have a fantastic day.